All right, hey, what's up, everybody? Mike Lindsley back with you for 9 minutes with me on IGTV, Facebook, and YouTube. Hope everybody is staying safe out there. Make sure to hit me on Twitter at Mike L Sports, and of course, you can download and subscribe to this podcast, the ML Sports Platter. That's what it's called. The podcast that I run is the ML Sports Platter, all over the major platforms. Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, as well as Stitcher, Deezer, the Podbean app, YouTube, and Tumblr. 5-star reviews and feedback is appreciated. We are presented by our good friends at Bryant and Stratton College, Empower Federal Credit Union, Sit Mean Sit Syracuse, and, of course, you have to pay attention to Ken's Auto Detailing this time of year. We're getting weird weather, right? It gets really cold, it snows, and then it's warm. We're back up to, late, I guess, upper 40s, low 50s over the next couple of days. High 50s, low 60s in the Northeast. And it's a great time to get your car detailed. Of course, it's outside. It's a local business you're supporting. And you stay away from people that's 6 to 8 or 10 feet as well. You can drop your credit card. There's ways to do it and stay away from people. You can wear a mask there as well. So get on over to Ken's Auto Detailing if you're in and around Central New York for that awesome A to Z wax and wash. When you drive away from the parking lot, you literally feel like it's a brand new car. And of course, check them out, like their Facebook page for all of their specials as well, so you can save some money on the back end at Ken's Auto Detailing, the official detail shop of the ML Sports Platter. So this video is the Buffalo Sports Mount Rushmore. I had Sal Maran on my podcast not too long ago talking about his new book, and it got me thinking about how I wanted to do the Buffalo Sports Mount Rushmore. And the reason why it's taken me a few days is because I haven't been able to figure out who I want on the 4th spot. But let's get to that in just a minute. The first two guys for me are the immovable guys. There's no question Jim Kelly is on the Mount Rushmore for Buffalo sports all the time. When you take a look at this, and by the way, I should mention that when you go into a sports market like this, players, head coaches, executives, general managers, etc., and then obviously, owners of franchises, they're all included in this whole thing as well. But Jim Kelly is absolutely a slam dunk. He's immovable for the Buffalo sports Mount Rushmore. When you think about when he said he didn't want to come to Buffalo, he played in the USFL and all the rest, he ends up coming to Buffalo, and he has since been the face of the Buffalo, the city of Buffalo in terms of sports. You know what he's done in terms of his comebacks, multiple comebacks from cancer, and of course 4 straight Super Bowls for the Buffalo Bills. He and Bruce Smith completely and utterly changed as players. One as a quarterback, one as a rushing defensive end from Miami and Virginia Tech respectively. And, of course, Kelly spending some time prior to in the USFL. Everything changed in Buffalo when the Bills got the quarterback. And look at the disaster that the Buffalo Bills were putting their fans through up until basically this point with a new Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott era without having a quarterback. I mean, how many times did you have to hear NFL pundits, well, the Bills haven't been good since Jim Kelly. They haven't found a quarterback since Jim Kelly. I mean, we heard it a million times over again. It's like the Dolphins, same thing with Dan Marino. And Jim Kelly, of course, is an immovable guy in terms of the Mount Rushmore. He continues to be a face of Buffalo sports. He continues to be a face of the city of Buffalo. He lives there. He's connected with the fans maybe as much or more than any athlete to ever come through Buffalo. The success speaks for itself. When you talk about Mount Rushmores in sports, we know how, what kind of gets included into this. Winning, right? The connection to the fans, numbers, were they a Hall of Fame player? The impact, were they a pioneer? Well, how did they connect generations? Kelly connected generations as well. Jim Kelly has connected generational players. I mean, look at how many guys go to him for advice in terms of current Bills. We're talking now about Jim Kelly. I played 30 years ago now. When you think about those Bills teams of the 1990s, I mean, my God, the first Super Bowl they went to, the 1990 season, 91 Super Bowl, I was 10, 11 years old. I'm 40 right now. I mean, Jim Kelly is connected now as we move through time. He has connected generations. This guy is an immovable figure on the Buffalo Sports Mount Rushmore. My second guy is Ralph Wilson Jr., the former owner of the Buffalo Bills. I don't think Ralph Wilson Jr. gets enough credit for his involvement in the Foolish Club and the AFL, challenging the NFL, along with Al Davis, along with Lamar Hunt, along with Sonny Werblin, along with multiple people in that Foolish Club of the AFL. They had an idea. The Bills and the Chiefs and other original AFL teams, the Houston Oilers, they wanted to go at the NFL, and finally they did, and look what's happened now with the National Football League, the most popular league, the richest sports league in America that we have, the league that everybody loves the most. We've seen expansion. We've seen multiple aggressive, incredible TV deals. Look at the expansion of the Super Bowl because Ralph Wilson worked with a guy like Lamar Hunt who created the name Super Bowl. But you think about those pioneers, Ralph Wilson Jr. was absolutely amazing. And you think about the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you think about him getting them jump-started as an original AFL team. You think about everything he did with his front office, and they were able to obviously acquire players like Joe Ferguson and Jack Kemp, the electric company, Joe DeLamalure, O.J. Simpson, and the like. This was a tremendous original AFL franchise in the Buffalo Bills. And later on, of course, in his life, he got, I think, a bad rap for being really cheap and all the rest. And this was way, way, way late when he was almost basically on his deathbed. I just think that could be, there could be nothing further from the truth with Ralph Wilson. You know, people were barking up his tree about getting a new stadium. Well, they still don't have a new stadium. And they renovated the stadium, but it's still on the same property. I think Ralph Wilson's an immovable object here in terms of the immovable person for the Buffalo Bills and the all-time Mount Rushmore. You think about the amazing, amazing impact he had on the city of Buffalo, original AFL franchise, but then more importantly, as a bigger figurehead challenging the National Football League. My third guy here on the Mount Rushmore is Bruce Smith. Bruce Smith, the greatest defensive player in Buffalo Bills history. He's probably one of 2 or 3 greatest players in National Football League history. The other couple guys, I think, would be Lawrence Taylor and Reggie White. This guy, Bruce Smith, was a guy who offensive coordinators would absolutely have nightmares about the night before or the week leading up to a game. He's a guy who's in very rare category for defensive players who you had to game plan your entire offense around. Bruce Smith, Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White, Ray Lewis, Ray Nitschke, Dick Butkus, those kind of guys, Deion Sanders. You have to absolutely build your game plan around. And think about the depth of the Buffalo Bills defense with Bruce Smith leading the way. You had Shane Conlon, Darryl Talley, Cornelius Biscuit Bennett, all those kind of guys, the secondary players and all the rest, Phil Hansen up front. But it was Bruce Smith who was the absolute game changer, who completely wrecked offenses. And you think about watching the Bills go to 4 straight Super Bowls. Bruce Smith, clearly just like Jim Kelly, of course, a Wall of Honor guy. Bruce Smith, of course, in the National Football League Hall of Fame in Canton. But it was Bruce Smith's impact on the defense and the way he completely changed the defense in terms of giving the Bills a compliment with that K-Gun offense and the defense of Bruce Smith, the greatest defensive player in the history of the Bills, and the impact coming from Virginia Tech, the #1 pick, making the defense completely relevant. Jim Kelly one side, Bruce Smith the other. I think you've got to put them both on there. And then my fourth one is extremely difficult to pick. I have been tossing this around like you wouldn't believe. You got to have a Buffalo Sabre on this Mount Rushmore. And who do you pick? Do you pick Gilbert Perreault, the #1 pick going back to the Sabres as an expansion team, or do you take Dominic Hasek? And for me, it is so hard, but I'm going to leave Gilbert Perreault off. And I realize anybody who would put Gilbert on there, give me a break, 500 goals and the original Sabre Hockey Hall of Famer. But for me and my money, and I know Dominic Hasek wasn't drafted originally by the Buffalo Sabres, but when he got to Buffalo, he made the Sabres so relevant, it wasn't even funny. You went to the arena to watch Dominic Hasek throughout all the years. And I understand Pat LaFontaine and Alex McGillney and Dale Hawerchuk and all these guys came through there, but it was Dominic Hasek who made them relevant. Think about the late 90s teams. The 98 Sabres have no business even being in the East Finals. They have no business even being in the Stanley Cup Finals in 1999, losing to the Dallas Stars with that stupid skate in the crease with Brett Hall. There is absolutely no way that team is even close to relevant. You can make the argument with Gilles Perreault, too, in terms of them going to watch Gilles Perreault and him being the #1 reason to go to the arena in the old Odd. But they had the French connection. They had a pretty good team A to Z and a lot of heavy scores. Dominic Hasek made the Sabres relevant. He was the reason they won any games, the reason they even reached the conference finals, multiple conference finals, Stanley Cup finals. Think about the Vezina trophies. You think about them having no scoring. They had some pretty solid defensemen, but give me a break. Dominic Hasek carried the Sabres during his era for the Buffalo Sabres. So in splitting hairs here, but I'll take Dominic Hasek, then Bruce Smith, Jim Kelly, and Ralph Wilson Jr. There's your Buffalo Sports Mount Rushmore. I'm Mike Lindsley. Thanks for watching 9 Minutes with me. And as I always tell you, when they come back, enjoy the games.